Earlier, at the Paris Opera, Schaufuss had demonstrated his versatility by creating a role very different from the smiling youths of Bournonville's dancers. He was invited to create the title role in his ballet, The Phantom of the Opera, by the great French dancer and choreographer Roland Petit.
Peter was curious to why am I asking him to rehearse so long, because in general, when dancers are successful like he is, you know, they go from one place to another very quick with a suitcase and dance one ballet in a place, another ballet in another one. But the creation is something else. It's not the question to learn the steps or to create the steps. It's the question of creating it together and having a real deep meaning. So Peter at first was surprised that I asked him 2-month rehearsal, but after a while he understood, because he was completely as good as he is in everything he does. He was completely different. You know, in that ballet he was really seduction, evil, and tough, strong, cruel, and he was everything he hadn't done before.
Another challenge. Maurice Béjart, the founder and sole choreographer of the Ballet of the 20th Century in Brussels. Schaufuss had for a long time been an admirer of Béjart's work and had danced in one of his ballets with his Canadian company, but he had never worked with the creator himself. For this film, Béjart and Schaufuss agreed to work together.
Go very much forward.
Choreographer Maurice Béjart, dancers Patrice Touron of the Ballet of the 20th Century, and Peter Schaufuss.
Then when you do this, try to do 3 movements. The first is like a classic pas de bras. The second, go to the audience, dip. And the third one, drop something, you know, just that you could drop something. And again, you know, like a pas de bras, give very far to the public and drop on the floor on the center.
The ballet is set to the music of Gustav Mahler's Song of the Wayfarer. Béjart had explained the relationship between the two dancers.
I think I do this pas de deux for 2 boys because it doesn't mean it's 2 boys. It's one person. It's not 2 boys who fight. It's not 2 boys having a love affair. It's just the alter ego. It's you and yourself.
With no public performance in mind, the work went on as long as busy schedules could allow. Schaufuss totally absorbed in this new experience, new challenge.
love yourself, you fight against yourself, you destroy yourself, you get together, and at the end, your own self is bringing you in another direction. So it's just every artist, it's never happy with himself, and especially Mahler. Yes. So it's the writer, the poet, the musician, the dancer too, fighting with himself. And go. Pass and stay very close. Tack, stop here. Peter is a very fine dancer. Well, you know, it's one of the greatest technicians in the world. And I think he's got a very fine sensibility and a very wonderful human quality. But I think if he would like to dance a ballet with us, he should stay a moment, because every great company in the world has its own style. And when you see, for example, a Balanchine ballet danced by other company, sometimes it's losing the perfume and or the taste, you know, and you just look like steps. And it's the same from everywhere. When I see Peter is doing the choreography so wonderfully, but at the same time, I would like to work long time on details, because it's on a work of art. Sometimes it's the details who makes the difference.
Berlin, where Peter Schaufuss has been a frequent visitor to the ballet company of the German opera. This time to work on another Bournonville ballet, Folktale, with the American ballerina Eva Evdokimova. Theirs has been a successful and popular partnership in recent years. But at one time, they seemed to be a most unlikely combination.
It goes back a long way, Eva and myself as a partnership. It goes back all the way to the Royal Danish Ballet School, because Eva was first trained at the Royal Ballet School in London, and then she joined the Royal Danish Ballet as an apprentice. This is all the way back in 1966. So we were really at the school together. I had never thought I would ever dance with Eva, because she being quite elongated and tall for a female dancer, and myself being not on the tall side and very muscular, I never thought we were actually going to dance together. But once we got the experience, we started dancing more and more together. Now we dance the whole repertoire together. Somehow, I think I've grown a bit, and she has shortened a bit, so it works very well now.
Another difficulty overcome. Peter Schaufuss has grown on his osteopath's couch.
I think we have achieved something like about 1.25 inches. I don't think we can achieve any more. I'm trying to find a way that it might work on me.
With Eva Evdokimova in the title role, Peter Schaufuss produced for London Festival Ballet Bournonville's La Sylphide. It's a production that he has since taken to companies in Berlin, Florence, Marseille and Stuttgart. It has brought him a personal triumph as a producer and choreographer.
We have been given the great technique and style and beauty of the Bournonville tradition. So we decided that we would like to give this year's award to Peter Schaufuss.
Dame Alicia Markova presenting Peter Schaufuss in 1980 with the London Evening Standard Award for Dance. for Peter Schaufuss, the work goes on, non-stop, crossing the world to gala performances, the all too brief stays with different companies, the demands of different choreographers, the creation of new roles,
So that's another position.
the recreation of old ones.
So it's 1 and 1.
In particular, he admits the strain of the responsibility of new productions.
To produce and choreograph is a very hard thing just by itself, because it's not only taking rehearsals in here and teaching the choreography, teaching the mime, trying to tell the dancers what you want from the choreography, from what you want in style, and basically the way you want it. This is the easy part of it. There's all the other things you have to do. Casting, you have to make sure that the set and the costumes with your designer, you have great and long discussions. You have to do research before you speak to your designer in which way you want the costumes. There's a huge list for ballets like this of props, for instance, that you have to remember.
The first priority remains to keep the body in trim. Schaufuss is 34 years old now. He can expect at least another 7 or 8 years as a dancer, but only if, day after day, he keeps up the training that over 20 years has brought him to the top. At the same time, thinking to the future, he must secure his reputation as a producer and choreographer.
It's very, very hard because you're doing 2 jobs at the same time. It's a 24-hour work, but to keep in shape, you just have to work harder. And when your body says to you, I can't anymore, then you just have to kick yourself in the butt and get on with it and do a little more, because you find that if you dig within yourself, it's there. I guess it's like going 15 rounds in a title fight. You know, the last round, sometimes you see in sports that the great ones find that little extra in the end, and it's there. You just have to, kick yourself and get on with it, because your mind tells you, I'm too exhausted, I can't do my work today physically, but you have to if you want to stay on top.
But the great athletes and boxers will be well content with 10 years at the top. A dancer will want a minimum of 20. 20 years of rigid diet and discipline and monitoring of every muscle and tendon. Occasionally, Peter Schaufuss returns to Copenhagen to see his sister and her family. She is a leading actress at the Royal Theatre.